Are you riding in balance, or is your lower leg swinging and you don't know what to do to stop it from swinging? You can fix that lower leg with a very simple exercise, and today I'm going to share with you that exercise so that you can have a stable lower leg. Hi there, my name is Laura Kelland-May, and I will help you improve your riding so that you can ride safely, comfortably, with confidence, and win more ribbons at your next horse show. Today I'm going to do a position review on a video that someone has sent in to me. So let's get started. I'm going to show you the video, and you know what? You're going to see that this person's lower leg is slipping forward and back. And this is the thing that I focused on when I was reviewing this video. If your lower leg is swinging back and forth, you're going to want to get this exercise so that you can create a stable lower leg and ride in balance with your horse and ride safely. Let's watch this video, and I want you to focus on this rider's lower leg so you can see that it is swinging. So right here, take a look at, watch this part of this rider's position. You can see right now at this point in this rider's stride, on the horse's stride, it looks like the stirrup and the rider's foot is right here by the horse's elbow. This white line right here is the girth. This is where her foot is, and you could see at this part of the stride of the horse, the rider's foot is right up on the horse's shoulder and horse's elbow. So just focus on that part. Forward, you can see the lower leg swinging and how loose it is. Could you see the rider's leg moving forward and backward? This is because they are pinching with their knee and not putting enough weight onto the stirrup. To get a steady lower leg and secure lower leg, you need to do two things first. One, make sure the stirrup is adjusted properly. When adjusting your stirrups, make sure that the top of the stirrup tread reaches the bottom of your ankle bone. That's a good rule of thumb to use when you're adjusting your stirrups. If the stirrup is too short, the stirrup will hit above your ankle bone, and this also prevents you from being able to keep the weight down and around your horse. The other thing that you have to make sure that you do when you're putting your foot into the stirrup, make sure that the widest part of your foot, the ball of your foot, is on the stirrup tread. And if you look closely here at this rider, you can see that her foot is home in the stirrup, which means that her stirrup is right up against her heel. Let's take a look. Watch the way when she comes by here, you're going to be able to see that this rider's foot is home in the stirrup. Right here. If this is the rider's foot, you can see that the stirrup is right next to the heel of her boot. If you put the stirrup right next to your heel of your boot, this means that there's no way you can allow your weight to come down into your heels and push the heels down, because it's going to be stopped by the stirrup. Keep this stirrup on the ball of your foot so that you can put your heels down and secure yourself safely in the saddle. It's interesting to note when she goes over the jump and when she lands how much her foot moves to help keep herself in balance. When you are correctly in balance going over top of a jump, your leg should be perfectly still. This is the approach to the jump, and this is the first step of the 5 steps of jumping. This is where the horse starts to gather himself up, he stretches his neck out, and this is where the rider is preparing for the next stage of the jump. Let's take a look at her position and see how secure she is. All right, so then it looks like the next stride is going to be the takeoff. So you see that her leg is well underneath her. She's starting to stand up in the stirrups with her seat over the pommel of the saddle. What should be happening here is that her seat should be over the middle of the saddle and she should be staying still and allow the horse to come up to her. But what she is doing is leaning forward and all the weight is coming onto her knee right here. And because she's putting her knee here, her body's tipping forward, her leg is swinging back towards the back of the horse. We'd also like to make sure that if there's some bend in her elbow, she may need to have her reins a little bit longer and have her hands placed right at the top of the horse's withers right here so that she can maintain this nice release. Love that she's looking up and looking forward. The next stage of the jump is the takeoff part of the jump. This is where the horse shortens up their neck and coils up their hind legs to push themselves over the jump. Let's see what happens to this rider when she goes into the takeoff. If you look at this part, you can see the horse has placed his hind legs underneath him so that he can push himself over top of the jump. And the horses, you see that there's lots of flexion in the hip and the stifle and the hocks and the pasterns. Lots of power there to push the horse over the jump. And rather than keeping her body still with her seat over the middle of the saddle, she's standing up in her stirrups, pivoting on her knee right here. Her upper body's going forward, her lower leg is swung back so that she's well ahead of the horse. If you look at this picture, and if you kind of magically took that horse away from underneath this rider, would they land on their feet in balance on the ground? This is kind of my checklist for if you're riding in balance with your horse. If you took this horse away from underneath her, this rider would fall forward and land on her face, which means she's not riding in balance. Take a look. If you were to remove this horse from underneath this rider, she would be landing on her feet, on her toes, and tipping forward and rotating this direction. So we want to be able to take that horse from underneath her and have them land in a secure place. And to do that, she's got to bring her seat over more of the middle of the saddle and have a straight line, shoulder, knee, toe. And that straight line would be here. Let's look at the next phase of the jump, which is the flight of the jump. We've done the approach, we've done the takeoff. Now let's do the flight of the jump. This is the flight of the jump when the horse is in the air. And you could see, let's see what happens here. This is the horse is stretching out its head and neck over top of the jump. We want to make sure that the rider's hands are down with a long rein so the horse has the freedom to use his head and neck. And you see how far back this rider's legs are right here. They're well behind the girth. Previous picture, they were a little bit behind the girth. Previous picture, they were in front of the girth, on the girth. So in those three different places, the rider's leg has moved. We'd like for this rider to have the seat over the middle of the saddle with a little bit more, with a more closed knee angle, with the weight coming down into her ankles and heels down. You can also notice that this rider is leaning forward, and because she's leaning forward, she's got to get her elbows out of the way, so she's sticking them out. Keep your elbows in at your sides, push your hands forward towards the horse's mouth to allow for a release. Now let's look at the next phase of the jump. We've done the approach, we've done the takeoff, we've done the flight. The fourth one is the landing. I'm just sliding the cursor along the video. So here's the landing of the jump. Now it looks as though her seat is over the middle or almost the back of the saddle with the stirrups down near the girth, and her hands look like they're on or close to being on the horse's neck. Well done. Love that she's looking up and looking forward. You can see the horse landing off the jump and all the weight is coming down here. We'd like for her leg to be underneath her with the weight down into her feet more. It looks like her feet are just kind of floating there. Now, the fifth and final phase, that's hard to say, the fifth and final phase of the jump sequence is the recovery stride, and that's a stride after landing. Let's take a look and see what happens in that stride. Now we're going to zoom along to the recovery. There's the recovery. The horse has got his hind legs on the ground, and she's going away, and she's still really forward. Let's do the checklist. If you took the horse away from underneath this person, would they be in balance and land on the ground in balance so that they wouldn't topple over, backward or forward? Let's take a look. She's well ahead. Her seat is very high over top of the pommel of the saddle. And all the weight seems to be coming here. Her feet are flat with the stirrup on home. Her feet are home in the stirrup, so she cannot allow her ankles and heels to flex and go down. So this person, if you took that, magically waved your magic wand and took that horse away from her, she'd land on her toes and probably tip forward. Let's go back to the beginning and watch the video that she sent and focus on her lower leg and watch it swinging as she's coming on the approach to the jump. You can see the lower leg, you can see the girth and then not see the girth. It's a pleasant enough picture, and she's not hindering the horse at all, but she needs to develop more base over top of the jump and approach to the jump. Be able to stay in her 2-point position with her leg staying still. How are we going to fix it? I've got a couple of really good exercises that you can do in your next riding session to help you. Actually, you don't even have to be riding. These are exercises that you can do right now. I'm going to show you. Here's one of the easiest exercises that you can do so you can feel how you should be sitting in the saddle. And it's very easy to do. You don't need any special gear. You can go and do it right now. Let's take a look. Go on the mounting block or stairs and jump down. So this is what will happen if you are leaning forward when you jump off the mounting block. If you jump off the mounting block and land on your toes, and as if you were standing up in the stirrups going over top of the jump, that's what's going to happen. You're going to land and tip forward. So I asked her to do it again and exaggerate landing and falling forward. And if you exaggerate it and land and tip forward and lean forward, this is what's going to happen. You fall forward. And that's what happens to this rider when she's going over the jumps. She's standing up in her stirrups, leaning forward. Her eyes are up, looking forward, but her seat is over the pommel of the saddle, which means she's not in balance and she would be toppling forward. If the horse tripped, fell, deked out, stumbled, something, she would be falling forward after the jump. Some people, they get left behind over top of the jump. And what happens when you get left behind? You fall backwards. So I asked the rider to get back on the mounting block and jump off the mounting block and pretend as if her feet were going out in front of her. What would happen? And what do you think is going to happen? Let's take a look. She falls backwards and has to take a step backwards. It's interesting to see what happens to her hands as well. As her hands, to keep herself in balance, she had to put her hands up in the air to keep herself in balance. So keep that in mind. If your lower leg does slip forward, oftentimes we lose our balance, our hands go up. So keep that in mind. Let's watch it again and pay close attention to this rider's hands as she falls back. Now I asked her to step off the mounting block. Her hands go up in the air. And of course, for the finale, she does it just right. She jumps off the mounting block, lands in balance. And this is what I want you to practice. To practice jumping off the mounting block, jumping off the last stairs. It doesn't have to be very high. You can even just jump up and then down and land in the correct riding position. If you think that you are not balanced in the saddle, try this exercise and feel where your weight is going. If you just jump up and jump down and land on your toes and tip forward, you can see how easy it is to get yourself back into balance by getting yourself in the correct riding position. Watch this video where the rider jumps off the mounting block and keeps her balance correctly. So we asked her to go back on the mounting block and then jump off and keep her balance correctly as if she was sitting in the saddle. She jumps off, weight down into the saddle. And just so you know, look at the beautiful position. Your shoulder, knee, toe with the weight equally in her feet. Maybe even you can exaggerate this and pull your toes up so that you understand where your weight is. Totally in balance. Jumps off, lands totally in balance. And contrast that to the other things that we saw. To the leaning forward and the leaning back. So that visual should help you on how to keep your legs still and underneath you when you're riding. The other really good exercise that you can do is called the up, up, down exercise. Standing in your stirrups for 2 beats, seat back in the saddle for 1 beats. Watch this video right here. Down, up, down, down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. If you have any questions, send me an email, thistleridge@hotmail.com. My name's Laura Kelland-May, and thanks so much. Remember to subscribe and like this video so that YouTube knows that people like it.